Part 2. I'm going to go in a little bit deeper about yesterday. So I didn't give my mother's name. My mother's name was Sandy. Excuse me. Sandy Sheets, when I was born, later became Sandra Sheets Reichman. My father's name was Jeffrey Reichman. I think I left off yesterday when I was in kindergarten. I want to go ahead and say that through my childhood, elementary school years, I never had a sleepover at my house. I was always told it was because I was bad or I didn't do something that I was supposed to have done, like clean the house, feed the chickens. I have a story about the chickens, so I'm going to talk about them. We lived on a farm in Meigs County, and we had cows, pigs, and chickens. So a note here to keep in mind is I was not allowed to have sleepovers. I was not allowed to sleep over at anyone's house. And every time the subject would come up, it would be because I didn't do something, whatever. So fast forward a few years, actually not really even a few years, I felt like I was definitely under 10. I'm under 10. I'm going to go with under 10. It was summertime, so we were out of school. We had chickens that were, I don't know. It was a little dirt road, and you walk down a dirt road path to get to the chicken coop. And my job was to take all of the scrap food, slop, she called it, and I was to go feed certain things to the chickens. The rest of it would go to the pigs. But mind you, I was a small child, and there were several roosters in there. Anyway, long story short, I would go out to the chicken coop and I would dump the food behind the coop because I was terrified of the chickens. Like, I went into the chicken coop one time and the rooster flogged me. Like, he stuck his claws into the top of my head, and I was terrified after that, and my mom continued to make me do it. So one day she went out to feed the chickens, and I'm not proud of this, but there was a few chickens that had passed away because they hadn't been fed. That was my fault. When I say that she beat me, my mom did not think it was anything to cuss somebody. Like, she cussed me my whole life. Told me I was a piece of shit, I was never going to be good enough. This day, she told me that I was a piece of shit. Mind you, I'm going to go back to I was a child. She told me I was a piece of shit. She switched me with a switch, a wooden limb, all the way back to the house. And then when I got back to the house, I was on the porch, and I don't remember how I got to the fetal position, but I was in a fetal position on the porch, and she started kicking me with her shoes on. And I feel like that was probably the first time that I ever wished I was dead. So, to carry on here, that was how my childhood went. I did get my ass beat a lot if I did anything wrong. I'm not saying a lot because I was scared a lot, so I was terrified to do anything wrong. But if I got caught doing something wrong, I promise you, I got my ass beat. Like, I was probably not much older than this. I came home from school one day, Mom asked me a question or told me to do something, and I said no. And again, she grabbed me by my hair and beat the piss out of me. Like, I wasn't allowed to say no. This all occurred while we lived in Meigs County. And I want to say I went to Eastern, Tuppers Plains Elementary, Eastern High School, through till the second half of my sophomore year. And then, and I'm just going to say that entire time while I was in that place was horrific. It was not good at school. It was not good at home. The only person that I had that was willing to save me was my grandmother. And like I said, she passed away when I was 10. Now, early on, I said that my parents had moved to Virginia, and they did move to Virginia. But by the time I was 10, they moved back. That's when my grandma died, and they came back. So I will say that the chicken incident did happen when I was 10, maybe a little bit older than 10, actually. So I might have lied right there. I didn't mean to. It was really bad. My whole time in Meigs County, I don't have anything good to say about it. My grandmother was the only thing. School was bad. My home life was bad. And then the second half of my sophomore year, my mom's uncle passed away, and he lived in Cheshire. And my mom bought his home. So her and I moved down there. Let's see, that would have been in 97 or 98. So my grandmother passed away in 92. My grandpa passed away in 1990. I wasn't very close with my grandpa, but I was very close with my grandma. Let's see, moving to Cheshire. My mom and I moved there first. She redid the entire inside of that home. She was a very bad diabetic. She was sick. She was very mean all the time. Like, she would be nice, and you would think it was going to be a good day, and then bam, just the flip of a switch, and she was like batshit crazy. Anywho, during the Cheshire time, we redid the whole house. My father did not come. Now, by this time, him and my mom are married. They've lived together my whole life. He did not move to Cheshire with us immediately. He waited until my mom got the entire inside of the home redone, and then he came. And I don't know why, other than he was a lazy fuck. But, let's see, that was in, like I said, that was in 97 or 98. I started at River Valley High School when I went down there, and that's where I graduated from. It was kind of a new beginning for me. Like, it was people that didn't know me, didn't know my mom, didn't know the crazy that my family came from. So it was kind of nice walking into a place and people not already having an opinion of you. So my next, 2 years of high school, my junior and senior year were fantastic at River Valley. Not because of my mom, but just it was a good experience. The end of my high school was a good experience. Let's see. I graduated in 2000, and We went on our first ever family vacation. I feel like that year, 2000, the year of 2000. We went to Myrtle Beach. My mom was sick. She was always sick, always sick. She was in and out of the emergency room while we were down there. It was not a fun time. That was in 2000. That was the year of 2000. 2001, back up. The year of 2000, also my mom started dialysis. She was in kidney failure. So she did that for an entire year. And in 2001 is when she passed away. And I did have some stuff wrote down here. So I'm going to read through what I wrote down, just some memories. But here it says, throughout my preteen and teenage years, I witnessed a lot of physical and mental abuse between my parents. They fought a lot. They never had anything good to say about each other. They cussed at each other a lot. As did I receive it, but I didn't realize I was receiving it till later in life. When you're a child, you don't know. You're only as smart as the upbringing that you had. And later in life, you realize right from wrong, and that things wasn't right when you were a child. And that is how I came to terms with my childhood. Okay, I was very spoiled, as in closing, materialistic shit. She never, ever let me dress that. I wasn't allowed. I wasn't allowed to dress in just regular clothes. It had to be like something off the wall, like lace up the side of your jeans. It was always something stupid. She tried to live through me, I want to say. On the daily, my mom would flip moods like a switch. And that is, I can't even explain the quickness of the mood change. One scenario on the mood flips. I was about 17. I was in high school at River Valley. I was a good kid. Like, I made good grades. I was a good student. I wasn't allowed to not be. Like, I wasn't allowed. I was asked to go shopping with a few girls that I went to school with at the mall, just the local mall. And it was a Friday night. And I had asked my mom, like, the beginning of the week, like, am I allowed to go on Friday? And she said, yes, absolutely. And there was no restrictions, like, you can just go. So Friday comes, and I would get home from school and I'd be so excited, and she'd be like, well, if you want to go, if you think you're going, you have to get to, this house has to be spotless. Or she would be like, the yard needs mowed, so until that's done, you're not going. Or if it was summer outside and we had gardening, like, no. The beans need weeded, sorry, you're not going. Let's see. So she really had, like, I don't even know what her diagnosis was. She was never diagnosed, but I will say that she definitely had some disorders. She did. She had to be in control of everything, and my every move, every single move. I dealt with this, what was considered normal treatment, my entire childhood. My father was always, like I said earlier, he was always in the picture. He was lurking in the background. My mom was definitely the alpha. She made the decisions. She made the money. He did work, but like I said, she was very much a control freak. Now, I'm not giving him any slack here. He's a piece of shit. I'll get to that later. He never participated in anything that had to do with me. Like, he never went to my graduation. He never went to proms. He never went to anything that had to do with me. I always longed to have a loving relationship with my dad. I always loved him very much. I always wanted to give him a hug or sit on his lap. But every time, and I mean every time, every single time that he would touch me, put his arms around me for a hug, touch me, I would have these, it felt like a million needles was going into my skin. And I didn't know what the problem was. This happened for years, and I mean years. And I always questioned, what is wrong with me? Why do I have this feeling? And I would hug him tighter. So I just thought it was an issue. It's my problem. It's something that I have, and I just let it go, and I pushed through it and continued on. The screaming, the fighting, the mental abuse continued throughout my high school years. Once I graduated high school, I started college at a local community college. But if I'm being honest, and this is honesty, it was an escape. College was a way for me to get away from my mother and be able to make decisions on my own. That was the only time I ever got it. But I only went to college for 2 semesters. I never, ever stepped foot in a classroom. Not one time. I would drive around while I was supposed to be there, or I would go and sit in the library at the college just by myself because I just needed me time. I dropped out after the 2nd semester and got a job. I worked at a local dentist office, and I can't remember how long I worked there. I want to say 6 months or so, but the dentist had yelled at me one day for doing something. I don't know. Did I make a mistake? Probably. But he yelled at me, and I went home and told my mother, and she called him and gave him a cussing. Now, thank you, Mom, for taking up for me, but she got me fired. So now I don't have a job anymore. So there was on to the next job and the next job and the next job, and I landed a job at a state facility at the ripe age of 19. And this was my career for the next 13 years. Also, during this career is when I met my now husband. He did not work at this place, but actually I take that back. I actually met him while working at Dr. Brown's office, which was the dentist. Right before, though, the next segment of this will be about my husband, and my years at GDC. But this part is going to end. So right before I got a job at GDC, my mom passed away. I was working, I want to say at a department store, and I got up one morning to go to work. Let's see, would have been October 10th of 2001. I got up that morning to go to work. She said, "Hey, come have coffee with me." I said, "No, Mom, I got to go to work. I don't have time. Can we do it later?" And she said, "I might not be here later." And I was like, "Oh, ha ha." And I got in the car and left. Didn't think nothing of it. So when I get home from work that night, my father was waiting on me. And he said that she had had a spell. And for me not to yell at her or be mean to her because she didn't want to go to the doctor. So I went upstairs and I sat down in the bedroom with her, and she said that she felt fine at the moment. But I said, Mom, what happened? And she said, I don't know. I laid down in the bed and all my pain went away. I had no worries and no pain. And I could hear your dad yelling. He was screaming, Sandy, come back, Sandy. And she said, and I didn't want to. But he wouldn't quit, so I came back. So I talked her into letting me call the squad that night. And they came to check her out. And they said that she was not having a heart attack at that time. And everything was good, like everything checked out good, and they left. So the next day, I didn't go to work. I stayed with her the whole next day. And she was fine. Everything was fine. She asked me to rub her feet. And I said, no, I don't want to. And she said again, this may be the last time you get to rub my feet. And I said, oh, hell, Mom, stop. You're going to live forever. So that night we went to bed. Everything was fine. The next morning I got up, I went back to work. And she yelled at me and said, are you going to work or something? And I said, yeah, I love you. And she said, I love you too. And that was the last time that I saw my mom alive. And part 3 will be coming in the next day or so. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I definitely enjoy telling it. I hope you'll come back for more.